Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now, today's video is going to be on where Eve has gone wrong and what they should have done to improve this game. Now, I'm also just going to discuss the future of the game and where this game could have went, what they could have done to make this game better. But let's go into it with just the basic of how this year went. So on the launch of the game was pretty simple to play. It was very easy to start, it was very casual, it was very nice for the majority of mobile players. It had an aspect of safety since it was a mobile game. It had an aspect of hardcore since it was from a hardcore genre of games that was from PC. And it had this free flow type of formation where you had three different sets of players. However, very soon after, changes started to be implemented in the game to improve the hardcore aspects of the game. Now, this year only started to occur after the second week of the game, and you'll figure out why I'm saying this year isn't such a good thing. The escalation of difficulty started to increase quite rapidly around week 2 in the game, and it kept increasing all the way till the end of month 1, where they removed the casual player protection basically. At this point the game became very annoying and very difficult, and the casual protection was gone, so the game escalated all the way till month 2. Now at month 2, a lot of the casual players were already very frustrated and they started to think about quitting the game. A lot of them actually did quit the game, but this still wasn't the nail in the coffin. Within month 2 leading up to month 3, they introduced heavier PvP aspects to the game way too early, making it almost impossible to be casual within this game due to the amount of trapping and combat that was happening all over the more rich area of the game. And with this being added, all of a sudden, it added in a lot less of a challenge, a lot less of a difficulty for PvP. The hardcore element became just a simple gank mechanic, and that was it. PvP was over. PvP became the easiest format of the game, with the hardest format being mining, which isn't where it's supposed to be. Mining is supposed to be the easiest and lowest paying format of the game, with PvP being the hardest and highest formatted paying of the game, with PvP being the highest paying of the game, and PvE being the mid-range play of the game that everybody has to go through. Now, let's talk about where things were, what happened, and how things progressed to this point. Now, originally in the start of the game, there was something called offline autopilot protection. And autopilot protection, which prevented you from getting warp scrambled. It was a fantastic mechanic for casual play. So they removed that at the end of month 1. A lot of players were upset about it. Some players were happy about it, and those players are most likely those who are still in the game. Yes, and I am literally pointing it out that it's only those who are still in the game who really wanted this change. Now, why am I saying that this is why I'm pointing it out? Well, consider the 2 million mark and consider where we are. If our community is literally 80,000, we literally killed the game with those options. Less than 0.5% remain. It's an insult, to be honest. It's an insult to everybody who thought they were so smart with pushing PvP the way they pushed it. It just says that you had no aspect of viewing the future of the game. The game is dead. It's literally dead. If it's 80,000 players and this is the 3 month mark after 2.5 months to reduce by that many players, means that in the next month and a half we're going to be in the very small figures. We won't even reach 20,000 players by month 4. By month 5 we will be under 10,000 players. By month 6 and 7 we will be under 1,000 players. By month 9, 10, 11, 12 we will just be a small community of 50 to 60 players who remained in the game even though it died, because we didn't have anything better to do and we literally were the reason for its death. So that's where we are heading with this game. That's what the game looks like it's doing. However, there is a possible roadmap to improve it. There is a possibility of slight injections of players, but let's just talk about this game from where it should have went. what they could have done, what can be done. Now, our current server can be left as it is, and they can recreate the servers on a new basis. In other words, a new server, and introduce things in a different way instead of this hardcore aspect that they tried. So, why add in a new server and why add in things slower? Well, every 3 months, adding a new server allows new players to come in and enjoy themselves in terms of gameplay. And you can allow old players to migrate to new servers to get a little bit easier gameplay for themselves, to have a little bit more fun. It is an aspect that adds the ability to earn for a company. So that is something they could have done, opening a new server every 3 months, giving that server 3 months to grow. That means at this point, the original server is at 6 months old. Everybody on that first server has now had a chance to catch up to the 3 month goal. Those who are at the 6 month mark have reached the brink point where they still within the same aspect as the 3 month players, but they still haven't reached the next set of play. You integrate them together, so the 6 month player joins into the 3 month server, and he will escalate that entire server's SP to the highest SP being that of a 6 month player. And that's how it will go. You keep on players moving around, and then that server has to keep going till it reaches 6 months for the servers to be eligible to merge, because merging servers after a while is a good way to save money. This is something that NetEase could have thought of. They could have done something like this to make this game way more profitable for them. And I'm going to go through it month by month is what they should have done. Right. Actually, it's going to be week by week. In the first week, when they introduced the games, they should only have had the introduction to missions. So you can do missions and you can enjoy yourself doing the encounters to open up the small pieces of your T6 and your first T. Sorry, your T6 and your first T8 mission, the easier T8 mission. That's all you should have had the ability to start unlocking. By the end of week 2, the rest of those missions should have become available so that you can unlock your first missions, allowing you to really earn ISK at a good rate. Now, with the introduction of the second week, events such as scouts and inquisitors should have both become available. Now, this allows you to have the increase in difficulty with the improvement in gear, higher end gear. Even though you have the faction gear, you also have this higher, more sought after, more rare spawning gear. And there you go, you've added a mechanic that players are going to play towards. They're going to jump in, they're going to get the Imperials, they're going to get the Navy issues, they're going to get the fleet issue weapons, they're going to get storyline weapons, and it's going to drive up the economy. People are now going to be able to trade on the market. And this is at the end of week 2. Leave this to count up to month 1. So month 1 has only given us a limited range of weapon capabilities with the protection for PvP still intact. It hasn't been reduced, it hasn't been removed. By the end of month 2, the game will have had multiple changes going on within month 2. Within month 2, around the 10th day of month 2, they should have introduced the anomaly dead space. So dead space anomalies now become a thing. Along with the introduction of dead space anomalies, the second T8 mission should have launched. By day 20 of month 2, they should have introduced the ability for you to now do the T10 mission, the highest level mission within your starting range of gameplay, giving you the higher end gear from its drop rewards. So you now have a chance to have your highest level faction gear with the ability for you to also get the highest level of gear from the anomalies, the C type. From this point on, you start pushing the game and accelerating the content till you reach month 2, the end of month 2. At this point, you now start opening a little bit of PvP. You are now entering month 3, start of month 3. You introduce events to the game, such as the Halloween and so forth, events that we already had last month. They did that perfectly, it was at the right time. And you keep events rolling out with 7 days being the maximum of a dead time between events, and make sure that events don't focus to only help one aspect of the game. Anything that you launch within an event should help miners, should help PvP, should help PvE. It should be an all-round game. It shouldn't just be PvP, PvP, PvP. That isn't the way to do it. You can't just make the game more difficult by pulling in the hardcore. Now, with the introduction of month 3, you now introduce warp bubbles. Warp bubbles have the ability to stop you from autopiloting away. So it does give you the possibility to slow a player till they have left your bubble to engage autopilot. Entering into the 10th day of month 3. Now, remember, month 1 was basically 10 days from the start. So basically, this is day number 70. You now introduce a 3-minute cooldown for autopilot protection. That means any player who wants to run has to keep on his character for 3 minutes before he can engage into full autopilot and leave the game alone. Sounds pretty easy, and it is perfectly good enough for the difficulty. So you can pull him out of warp by setting up a gate camp at this point. Gate camps now become a possibility, but you can't just gate camp everybody because players will get away from you if they're in autopilot once the protection is kicked in. And you keep it at this 3-minute protection for all casual players. This keeps you a nice big casual bubble in the game that will keep spending money, earning money, moving towards the Plex system. They keep the economy churning in small ways. And when they get caught every once in a while, they'll just think it's their bad luck instead of thinking they're just getting ganked for no reason. Now, entering into this phase of the game, we now enter into the last stage of month 3. Month 3 is now going to be introducing heavier hardcore PvP, hardcore PvE aspects. The events that you have launched in the first part and the second part, you should be giving away something simple like a throwaway upgrade, spec dust or something like something which they don't understand, but you should have given them the warning can be used to upgrade your gear basically giving them something else to look forward to. The next event introduces the next item, and in this next event both items are available. When you get both items, you upgrade your C type gear to B type gear, spec dust or special materials that are only available in the events, making players have to touch the events. Now I know that I've talked about escalating it towards PvP, sorry. But what about the PvE aspect? Well, within the 3rd month, let's go back to the 10th day. Introduce a new section of gameplay. Now, you already introduced those new anomalies, the event anomalies. That's basically what you are using to get players to farm up. And it is everybody who's benefiting from this. PvE forms your middle base play. They help everything. They get the mining gear, they get everything for you. That's why you need them to keep churning over the game. They need to stay there. So finally, you get them in, you get them all happy, you get them rattled up, and they now getting in the upgrade materials. Their ships are getting better, they're becoming stronger, they can fight more in PvP, they can fight against PvE enemies easier. You now introduce a second lot of anomalies. You have the cosmic anomaly, and now you have the great disruptor anomalies or the disruptor anomalies. And they now introduce new aspects of gameplay. They have new systems within them. Your standard disruptor weapons, they stop you from being able to micro warp drive. They stop sorry, they stop you from being able to use your weapons effectively. And that's what you want, something that introduces a little bit more difficulty. But you don't reduce the income from your basic anomalies, you increase the income in this higher end anomaly. They worth double the standard anomaly. So everybody's going to try and flow into them, while the gear that's coming out from these anomalies is worth half of that from the standard anomaly. There you go, a good flow. Your faction ships are already in the game all the way up to rank 2. Now, when you want to get your end of the end, the top line, battle ships and so forth, you don't use your simple anomaly equipment for it. You get a special variant of that debris. Like, you know, like how you get the Sanchez or the Serpentis or the Garista debris to build up your blueprints. You get something from that special new dead space, the disruptor dead space, and it's going to be called the the battleship debris for Sanchez or Sanchez BS debris. Sorry, not degree. But anyway, what this is, when I say BS, I mean battleship, obviously. So what this here means for you is you are going to take this battleship debris, collect them up, and build up your blueprint for your battleships. And this is where you're just starting to get to the first part of your battleship. Your battleship isn't yet available in month 4. Now, once you enter into month 4, things start to change again. PvP needs to get a little bit more difficult. More aspects of PvP need to be added. You now add in small little adjustments. No sovereignty, nothing that big. Your little adjustment in this level, the introductions of citadels and outposts. Outposts increase the ability of a faction to block you within the sector. In other words, they have faster targeting speeds when you have a citadel up in the system. It gives them a little bit more for tracking on you. So there's a big bonus. When you are trying to run away, if these players catch you, they can pull you out of your autopilot and destroy you very easily. And they can track you for a larger distance within their space. So giving a reason for outposts to be built, for citadels to then start being built. Now, at the end of month 4, there isn't really that much of an increase in the PvE aspect of the game. While for while for the mining aspect, you now introduce super enriched ores. Now, enriched ores were there from the start; they were always needed, but a super enriched ore, something for them to now target, because you need to make sure that that market of casual players who play very casually now have something to chase after. Once more, they go running around looking for all these things. They keep the PvP element churning over here and there and everywhere. And you find these limited events. They only spawn in the most dangerous of systems, where you have to have a 5 minute cooldown for your autopilot. Now that is the thing. You want them to have to cool down the autopilot. Once you have engaged it, you can't engage it again for 5 minutes. That's how bad it is to enter into these sectors. So yes, there's no autopilot protection in those sectors. You have to get out of that sector, wait for 5 minutes to go, then activate your autopilot, wait for 3 minutes to go before you can run away completely. Fantastic. So these are manual systems. There's no charting of it. There's nothing that you can do to move through them. Right, we've just finished month 5. Month 5 ends, PvP, PvE, everything is now churning at the perfect state. Month 6, sovereignty. Now now you escalate everything. Heavy PvP, heavy PvE. Everybody is fighting. Everybody is trying to get the best stations, the best locations, the best built citadels, the best defenses. Everything is moving around. The only way to get the defense augments are to go into the higher level sectors, into nullsec. The only way to build your citadels is to build it in the lower level sectors of nullsec. So 0-0 systems are the only place to build them, forcing you to move all the way close to high sec again, forcing you to move them through massive areas in space. Give all these aspects into the game, force them to have to use a certain station to build the first outpost, use the outpost to build the capsule, uh, use the capsuleer outpost to build the citadel, use the citadel to build bigger and more enforcing units, basically your defenses, so forth, that you need for your systems in sovereignty. Make sure that sovereignty has a challenge mode, so forth. Basically, put all these things in. If you want to be the sovereign of a system, you may be challenged. In order to be challenged, you have to reach 10 members into the system, and your top 10 have to fight their top 10 in a battle. Ships that are reserved for the challenge cannot be used to fly into the sector. Basically, you're forcing players to hold back on what they have. They're giving away their best for that fight, and they go through this and they win. Introduce aspects of okay, now this was all for gameplay aspects, and as from this point, escalating can go at any rate because the game is already as hardcore as it can be. Everything is at its maximum. Everybody is looking for the right things. There's rare ores that you can only get from the super enriched stuff. Everybody is moving around through those -1 systems. They're looking for the more rare materials. They're looking for the more dangerous areas to farm. They're looking for the rare dead spaces. They want the event monsters. They want all these things. And this here forces war. It forces players to leave the high sec, go into the null sec. And as for stories, you can add something to the stories. Once they reach month 3, you can add in a new set of stories above that don't just stay within one corporation, one faction. They can now branch off into two or three factions at once, helping them in an allied movement against the pirates. Basically, those are the missions that they go up against. And escalate it even further at month 6, giving them something that leads them all the way to the whole sovereignty aspect. They have to blow up the outposts of the pirates before they take over sectors. Give them crazy missions like that there, with hundreds upon hundreds of enemies coming out, forcing you to take in fleets and multiples of fleets to go into these combats. So there's the whole idea. It's a growth. It's a 9-month growth plan that they could have had. And it is something that they could have easily outlined. But what could they have done to generate income? Omega Duo is there. Insurance. They're giving us free insurance certificates for our basic ships. So once you pass level 3, you can't insure any ships. So introduce a Plex insurance system. All ships under $1 billion can be insured for 500 Plex a month. Players wouldn't mind that, it's quite cheap. Then anything above $1 billion, once you reach any ship within the 10 billion mark, can be insured for not 1,000. Let's see, 5,000 Plex, a heavy price. It seems very heavy. It's just $1 billion for your 10 billion ship. You can keep doing this here for 10 months to protect that ship instead of losing it and replacing it every month. So you pay the insurance and you have 1 month of insurance in the game. There you go. Your paying players are going to buy Plex. It has a market value. It's going to keep moving in and out of the game. You don't have to increase the difficulty of activities, reduce the gameplay. Everything is still there. The casuals are still happy. The pay to win players are now going to pay more. They have something to invest in. Players are buying the ISK at a high rate. It's going to stay at that 200 million, maybe even 300-400 million for the Plex. And there's it. Things are churning over. 1 or 2 billion for those aspects. They keep moving in the game. Players are happy. Hardcore players are happy. Low core players are happy. Everything has now functioned to the maximum ability. The players who run multiple accounts aren't really using it for safety. They're using it just because they want to do more in the game. They're growing the aspects. They're making everything churn. But instead, we right now have a game that's in the exact wrong system. We're already reaching sovereignty in month 4. We are barely 13 days into month 4 and sovereignty is being announced. It's way too early. It's way too hardcore of an aspect. It locks out systems. It makes travel difficult. It introduces new warfare issues. It will block out major corp routes. All they're going to do is force one corp, basically Genesis Federation, is going to go around and kill a route to get out of their sector because they can't trust anybody. So you're going to kill everybody on one route out and you're going to hold that route in sovereignty. And then it's going to be your sovereign route in and out of the system. And everybody is going to challenge it every once in a while to try and get in just to get out of the systems. And then Nalsec is just going to become one corp space. That's where you're heading. That's what's going to happen if you keep up the system. Now, this is just to get our game on the right track. This isn't making our game great. We would have had something like 5 or 6 million at that point. What else could NetEase do to make even more money on top of this? They could reach out to other community content creators, not just the Eve content creators. Reach out to mobile gamers, people who play games like Ark Survival Evolved, games like Destiny. Get a hold of players with, not players, with YouTubers with 2 and 3 million subscribers. Offer them advertising campaigns. A quick advertising campaign in one of their videos here, one of their videos there. Get a hold of other YouTubers, churn up that revenue, make it move around. International ad campaigns, 1 or 2 a month. That's all they needed to do. Grow the game. Now, here is something else to add into the whole meta. Every 3 months, create new servers. And every 6 months, allow server migrations. And every year, merge the servers. So at 9 months, a 9-month-old server will merge with a 1-year-old server. And that will now become the new big server. That server will then remain for 6 months before it will merge with the next merge server. And it will keep merging it and keeping it small. You won't go past about six or seven servers, and it will keep the money coming in all the time. Fresh players will join in on the baby servers. The first 3 months they'll grow that server. Then the next 3 months, when the migration opens, they're going to open up to bigger and stronger players. Those players will join in. They're going to form new corps, form new alliances, upset the flow of the game. There's going to be big mergers, big migrations. You force players to move between the servers. Everything is going perfect. And those big original servers are just going to get more and more difficult. They're going to have more and more combat, more and more fun. They're going to churn out money for you. And that's what NetEase wants. They want an idea that's going to give them money. And that is something that would churn thousands and thousands of dollars a day. That's all they need to do. Now, could they save the game at this point? Well, the original audience is definitely gone. But they could do it. They could revitalize it. They could get us up to 30 to 40 million players in the next 3 months. But it would take a massive advertising campaign and a ton of development on their side. They'd have to slow down the hardcore aspect, keep the game casual, reduce everything back down to a casual set, and start increasing it slowly once more. Now, is that doable? Well, not for us who are in this hardcore server. We're not going to get to see anything easy for the next year, possibly. So this server where we're on will remain like this for 1 year, for 12 months, while a baby server will launch, which will go up with the schedule. There is an idea for Eve. They can go for it. Go look at this idea. An easy video for you to follow. It's a step-by-step guide to secure a massive audience. And this is where Eve went wrong. And this is the possible future our game could have had. We could have been sitting at 40 to 50 million players. We could have been sitting in the same class as Raid Shadow Legends, as Nova Empire, as so many other big MMO games. They could have beat their own online best. They could have done everything in this game. They could have had everybody here. And it will mean that the development doesn't have to escalate the way it went here. If we have a war, we can't fight in one sector because there's too much of conflict. With that small little let your champions face our champion mechanic, you can always make it a little bit more difficult. If you have 3 citadels, if you have 10 citadels, then you have to have 100 champions. You get it. Make the difficulties increase. Give them a reason to do more. Let them have a challenge system. Every time your champions are defeated, one of your citadels go down in power. Once all 10 citadels are down, your sector is open to conquest. Once conquest is complete, they can destroy all your citadels, all your outposts, and fill in with their citadels, fill in with their outposts, and then you have to re-challenge to get your sector back. Instead, it's going to be a hardcore war fight to try and get through sentry guns that are going to be sitting on a gate that is just going to be gate camped. It's going to make it easy peasy to defend. There's no hardcore element. There's no real fighting. They need that. They need to make sure that there's a fight to be had on that gate. Make sure that there is a way to challenge someone for control. So those are my messages to the community. I hope that you all bring this up with Eve. If this video sounds like it was a reasonable escalation, go ahead, share it to the devs. Ping Joseph, ping everybody with this video 10 or 20 times a day. I don't care. Even if they complain to me, I don't really mind about it. But ping them up. Tell them, why don't they follow this type of a method? See what they have to say about it. Let them give us their feedback. Let them tell us, yes, we're going to improve the community. We're going to advertise. We're going to get this community up to 100 million players. We're going to make sure the game continues for another 20 years. We want to hear that. We want to have another 20-year Eve game. We don't want another Eve Online. We want the casual flow online aspect of a mobile game within a hardcore game like Eve. And we want the hardcore to be earned and not just thrown at us from day one, so that only a player who can spend $100,000 on the game will be the top dog in the game. That is the only way right now. It's become ridiculously expensive. With the reduction in the amount of things you can earn, it's only the super hardcore players who are already set up who can keep going. So thank you all for watching. Have a good day.